And so let us take the celebration of Father's Day into today's lesson, today's gathering. And as we celebrate Father's Day, let us acknowledge that being a parent is a sacred and blessed gift like none other. It is a gift that gives and fills us with the gift of appreciation, of love, of joy, and of beauty, and sometimes the gift that fills us with frustration, overwhelm, sometimes heartache and challenge. And all too often, frequently, how we, as a parent, anybody who is a parent, how we parent is frequently patterned after what was modeled for us in our own households. And sometimes that modeling was profoundly beautiful and loving, and sometimes it could have been a little painful to us. And so when we begin to say yes to practicing self-reflection and say yes to going on a deep journey of spiritual exploration, that inner journey of spiritual transformation, our capacity to be the presence of nurturance, compassion, empathy, support, being able to set loving boundaries grows, right? Our capacity to be that and to model that is increased significantly. I know for me it has, not just with our children, but in any relationship. And often, we get to now carry forward maybe what we didn't experience in our own upbringing, not, the good, the bad, the ugly, so on. There's much beauty. And that is what we call the evolutionary process, right? What was socially or culturally the role of a father has changed from my grandfather till now, right? We all can see it. But that is also a reflection of not just our individual evolution, but the soul's collective evolution as well. And so Matthew Kahn, the author of All for Love, The Power of Holding Space, speaks in his book about his experience being parented and what it was like in his household as a child. And he said he knew at his core that he was loved and he was provided for, but all too frequently, his household was volatile. He said that his parents would engage in what he called a 12-round knockout verbal sparring match on a regular basis. And they would get loud with one another, frustrated with one another, trying to prove who was right, who was wrong, why somebody didn't do something, blamed, all this projecting onto one another. And he said that the volume would get so loud and so intense that he feared that they would hurt each other or that one of his neighbors would call the police, which happened on several occasions. And then he said if they weren't engaging in a verbal sparring match with one another, they would go to their favorite form of entertainment, where they would join forces together, and their entertainment was about who they were going to criticize and gossip and imitate and they would cackle and laugh into the late hours of the night. And Matt Kahn shares that, quote unquote, it became a comedy roast that intensified when there would be friends or family members visiting, and then his parents would just put on this performance and mocking, and so people became the brunt of their entertainment. And as a young child and into adolescence, Matt knew that there was something very wrong with the way people were relating in his household. He often, during fighting, I'm sorry, were you trying to get my attention? Okay. Often, I'm not speaking about Matt Denton, I'm speaking about Matt Kahn, the author, okay? Unless you're going like this, as I could relate, okay. Sorry, I see. So he said that often he was filled with fear, anxiety, and didn't know how to handle the situation. And so he would go into his room, play video games, read, just lose himself to get away from it. And then other times when things got so intense, he would insert himself in between the two of them, and that didn't always go so well. Most of the times it didn't go well at all. And the one parent that he was usually taking sides for was saying, they're right. That parent that he was siding with would then start attacking him, and he just realized that this was just craziness. And so as an adult, he began his own journey of self-reflection, his own journey of looking at the dynamics within his family. And he realized that what was occurring was, number one, he discovered that his parents did the very best that they could. And what he come to realize was that his parents were projecting their unhealed wounds onto one another. And he shares in his book this: My mom would be quick to project her view of incompetence onto others, while my dad cast the label of stupid as freely as it was once projected onto him. From an adult standpoint, I began to see how much both used distraction of other people to avoid the pain and disappointment they thought had given their parents some sort of power over them. And as I said, through the process of spiritual understanding and forgiveness, he realized that we carry the wounds of our ancestors, and we carry the gifts too. It's not all bad, right? There's so much beautiful things in every family. As a matter of fact, the author of My Grandmother's Hand says that we carry about 10 generations of trauma with us. And it's not to scare you, but it's like, as we heal, we not only heal past generations, but we carry that healing forward. And he realizes that each person's path is about the mystery of their soul's evolution. And as he began to do his own forgiveness work and realize, he began to turn that anger and frustration and disappointment that he held for his parents into great compassion. Compassion for himself, for others, and his ability to hold compassionate space for others and be a loving presence is what he dedicated his life to. He was able to sit at the bedside of his dying father and to be that compassionate presence with no regrets or no disappointments, and to just be that presence. And so it led him, right? A lot of times the most painful things in our lives become the diamond we glean and leads us on our journey. Struggling myself with reading and other issues. I didn't learn through the phonetic process. I was mostly right brain dominant. We grow up with this belief that maybe we're not enough, right? That there's something astray. But that painful journey in school, I became a special education teacher. Who knew? And then the pain of being in an abusive, alcoholic marriage led me to my spiritual journey, to being a counselor and then eventually a minister, right? How many of you can relate to turning those wounds? And that's the gift too of our parents, right? That maybe they've come in agreement to that. And so that gift, that the pain and suffering that Matt had experienced, we see that he is a spiritual teacher, a healer, and an author. And the gift that we are looking at right now is his book, All for Love, The Transformative Power of Holding Space. And in it, he delineates 10 attributes that, if we embody them, help us be a centering, compassionate presence in the life of another. Especially, it's easy to do that when things are going well and people agree with us, but especially in a world that is filled with discord. Discord in our own families and discord all around us. So we have already spoken about the attribute of encouragement, and so today we're going to focus on the attribute of validation. So what is validation? So we look to Webster's dictionary. So we know there's many definitions. It's not to validate statistics and studies, but here to recognize, to establish, or illustrate the legitimacy of and the worthiness of something or someone. And so in the context that Kahn uses it, it is how we validate what another is experiencing as legitimate and as an important aspect of their journey. How many times somebody is going on about, their work, their situation, this one in their life, that one in life, this didn't happen, blah, 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 and we want to give them a spiritual nugget. Or we say, even before that, they're so negative. They're just being a victim. Like, I don't want to hear all this crap. Anybody ever feel that way? Have that? We have many politicians who are victim, right? Anyway, all right, I digress. In our life. But what if we can take a breath and move back from judgment? I may not understand what's going on. I'm going to breathe. And what they are experiencing has value in their journey, no matter what it looks like. And what if we could recognize the thoughts they were holding and the feelings they were experiencing were also legitimate and valid for them? How often when we say something like, I feel disappointed, or I feel lost. Well, why do you feel that way? Have you ever had somebody respond that way? Or what's wrong with you? You got so much going on for you. Look at all the blessings in your life. And how can our presence illustrate in some way, in our body language, in what we reflect, you have a right to be heard. You have a right to be heard. And, we either play the avoider, la, 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 I can't. Now, I'm not talking about abuse here, physical or verbal abuse, okay? We are the avoider. Let me turn that down. And then if that's the best you can be, it's not a judgment. We want to squash that down. We're going to give somebody the cold shoulder, right? Or we want to be the rescuer. I'm going to save you. I'm going to give you a list of things you can do. I'm going to do all these things that maybe you could do for you, and I'm going to take it all away. Or he can be a placater. And so one of the things from early in childhood that Matt Kahn learned very well, even when he first became a spiritual counselor, teacher, he did it in a more spiritual way, spiritualized, rescuing, okay? So here we are to be a validating presence, not that we're going to agree with them, we're not going to rescue them, we're not going to try to shut them down, and again, I'm not talking about abuse here, or let them see the error of their ways. So before I share a little bit as to what Matt Kahn speaks of about rescuing, I want to hear from you. Rescuing, what does that mean? In the chat, if you'd like to put it, or if you want to share here, what do you think rescuing means? And maybe what does it not mean? Pam. Okay, to come to the aid of someone. Anybody else? Carol. Enabling. Is there anything in the chat? No. Okay.
Joe says, I too jump in my advice. And Deborah Bartok says, rescuing, taking responsibility for someone else.
Okay. So there is a difference between being the supportive presence, right? And enabling and doing for others what they can do for others. Rescuing is not, like my mother has macular degeneration. So when I take her to a doctor's appointment, I'm compassionately giving support. I'm not rescuing her, right? Or somebody's in the hospital or is ill. I'm talking about what someone may be able to do for themselves, and we think we have to be the one to do it because we don't think that they're capable, or we want them to get there faster in our time, not their time, right? So let's see what Matt shares. Rescuing often leads to misunderstanding. This is especially true when rushing others towards the greater perspectives they may not be ready to receive, to understand and accept. There's a part of my screen, I apologize, that's blocked. Admittedly, it can be difficult to surrender the tendency to rescue since we feels like we have difficulty with watching other people suffer. When you are unable to stop the pain or resolve the confusion that someone experiences, it can elicit deep guilt in you. And so maybe that rescuing is about you, right? As if you are furthering their agony if you can't help them shift. But just as a butterfly won't survive the cocooning process without mustering the strength to break free on its own, the people in your life can't wholeheartedly internalize the inevitability of positive change unless they have arrived at it from their own internal conclusions. That's like, you know how many times you need to stop smoking, you need to do, like, is this hurting your health? You need to stop eating fried food. These are simple ways, right? But somebody's not going to put down that cigarette or that drink, right? Because you're pleading with them. It's when they are ready, right? People in AA know that, right? All too well. And so what is the gift of embodying acceptance, being the presence of acceptance? I mean, validation. It is, I accept you, warts and all. You don't have to be a certain way for me to hold compassion for you. You don't have to believe certain things for me to see your sacred worth, or to know I may be at a different point in my journey or see things as not better or worse, but I am not here to judge your journey. That is unconditional acceptance. It's hard to stand in that space. And it leads to connection, because we know we have oneness. We're really good masters at separation, are we not, in handling how we deal with things. And so Khan also shares this about the gift. When someone's pain has been validated, not that we agree with it, let's be clear, and we don't poo-poo it, a greater space can open up an emergence for further transformation to unfold within them. A person's ego cannot affirm the truth of your perspective. The ego, the other person, if they are an ego consciousness, they cannot glean the truth you are trying to give them without equally feeling that they are wrong in their own. And when somebody feels or believes they're being attacked, separation, right? So what do you think that means? What is the benefit here? What is he referring to? A person's ego cannot affirm the truth of your perspective without equally feeling that they are wrong in their own. And what is he meaning about when you acknowledge somebody where they are is valid, what they are feeling is valid, this is what's going on in their journey, what does he mean about a greater space can open? Anybody want to put anything in the chat? So I'll just share a little bit. So going back to when I was married to an alcoholic husband, and my license plate fell off and it needed a new bolt and screw, and every day, you know, I had gotten a ticket, and then every day my ex said, I'll do it, I'll take care of it. So time went on, and I'm like, it didn't happen, and so I just did it. And so when I came home, and I just simply said I took care of the license plate, well, he went up, you know, like it wasn't verbal, like, I told you I was gonna do it, do you think I can't do it, you know, blah, 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 and then like he just screaming and yelling and all that, and I just simply said, I understand. I mean, I was in 12-step program, and I was, you know, I wasn't even in Unity yet, I think I was in Course in Miracles at the time, and I just like, yeah, I understand you really wanted to do it. I really understand. And I didn't react, I didn't scream back, what's wrong with you? I'm the one who has to drive it. You know, I was waiting all this time, right? You know the dance. Have you been in that dance? A couple times maybe, right? And then it stopped. Again, it wasn't, he wasn't, you know, why I didn't do it. So then, lo and behold, the next day, I got flowers. I wasn't looking for flowers. But sometimes, like if we get in there, start it could be name calling, you know, you're the one who didn't do it, blah, 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 blah. Then it gives the person something to focus on your behavior. When you are out of, no, you know that you're out of order, right? You're out of order. So they want to focus, you're out of order. So it doesn't, it's a way to avoid reflecting on what is. But if you are like just, okay, I hear you, where do they have to look? If they choose to. What's left is their behavior, right? Not you adding more fire to the log. And I think I shared, you know, about a family member spewing. Now, does it mean that I'm always going to get roses? No, one time I got him cheating on me when I decided to go to Wildwood. So, you know, I'm powerless over what somebody else is going to do, because I wanted to go on vacation with the kids and he wasn't available, so I went with my cousins and their little kids. Okay, so I wasn't met with roses then, I was met with, he's having an affair. So you never know, you're not in charge of what someone is going to do, but what I do know is who am I wanting to be in my life. And so let's look at an example. I'm having a bad day. Somebody says that to you, right? What can we do? Oh, I understand you're having a bad day. Or just, nod, listen, deep breathe, open your heart. Or I want to understand about your bad day. Oh, that sounds challenging. Your body language. Maybe somebody did get some news about a test result that they were afraid of. And someone other's bad day could be, I had a friend years ago who, was a stay-at-home mom, which is a very involved, it's not easy. And she had a very supportive husband who did lots of things, was very engaged, and she had a meltdown about her dryer breaking. And so I could have in that moment judged her because I was in graduate school, single mother, uninvolved ex-husband, working at the family counseling center, working full-time as a teacher. I could, my thought was, it's just a dryer, right? So I'm like, okay, well, who do you choose to be right now? And so I just deep breathe, okay, listened. I didn't have to, maybe that wouldn't have been a bad day for me, but maybe it would have. But nevertheless, I can choose to be a compassionate presence. And what we can validate is, has anybody know about the universal, I've had a bad day? Whatever that means to you, that's what we're validating. Oh, I understand. That may not be a bad day to me, but I understand what it's like to have a bad day. So if somebody comes to you and says they had a bad day, well, we know the avoider would be what? Shut them down, leave. But what might a rescuer do? What was that, Carol? Yeah, how can I help you? What can I do? Take charge, that's it. Doesn't mean like, is there anything to do to support you? Is that you're being a rescuer? But it's like now we give them the long laundry list, bad day anonymous. Have you tried this 12-step program? That kind of thing, so on and so on. Or, hey, let me cheer you up. Why don't you come to the movies tonight with me? They're needing to elicit to that. It's not our role. And it's not ours to be the placater, like when the dryer broke. Oh, that's the worst thing that could have happened to you. That's really, blah, blah, blah. You should be ticked off. No, that's the placater too. All right, so what is the challenge with this? Being the validator, not the rescuer, not the avoider, not the placater. What are some of the challenges, do you think? Carol?
The balancing act of being the rescuer and being that presence.
Yeah. Yeah, if you played a certain role of a rescuer and being that presence, how do I do that? And there is also that line of being a compassionate presence that supports others. It's like, how do I care and support but not carry for you, right? Right. Ex-sister-in-law, years ago, smashed into a building in Asbury Park, and she was lucky to be alive. And so she had gotten obviously a DWI, I don't know how many it was at the time. And so I'm sitting in the hospital at her bedside with her, being a compassionate presence. And she says, can you call motor vehicles for me? Now, she was physically intact. She had all of her mental capacities. And I said, no, I can't, but what I can do is I can hold your hand when you make the call. See the difference? Doesn't mean we're not going to care for someone, but It was something she was able to do for herself. So some of the things that may happen is people might get disappointed. They're used to maybe you fixing things. They want you to agree with them. They want you to go in collusion with them. They may even blame you because now they're looked to face to what's going on with them, and they don't want to do that. And he shares, perhaps you are the first person, keep this in mind, he says. You never know what's going on for somebody. Perhaps you're the first person a loved one calls after receiving disappointing news. It could be about a custody hearing, it could just be disappointing news, period. You fill in the blank, right? And what if the blame, harassment, and accusations are exactly what they need to express, not because it's the deeper truth, but because it represents layers of protection that they must first voice before they can be more vulnerable in feeling and allowing things to surface, right? Even within ourselves, if we get disappointing news, right? We're on the spiritual journey. Let's affirm the positive. Let's affirm, I am whole, I am well. Yes, but we don't bypass coughing up the hairballs of how we're feeling. Sometimes I feel like I'm being victimized, and then okay, let me look and go deeper. Let me be with what I'm feeling. Look, see, and tell the truth. And so what are some things that help us to be the presence of validating people? Is being able to be in touch with our own feelings. If we're not able to be in touch with our own feelings and embrace them and accept them and process them, or the circumstances in our lives, it's really going to be challenging to do that for another. And then he shares this. Each time the tendency to avoid, rescue, placate arises, simply take a moment to breathe, listen on a deeper level, and validate the uniqueness of the other person's reality. It doesn't mean we say that out loud, we're reminding ourselves. So often we're so preoccupied with what am I going to say, what am I going to do, instead of allowing our intellect to surrender to that which is much wiser and greater within us, the divine wisdom of our soul, the divine wisdom of our spirit, that is always connected and at one with divine wisdom and love of the universe, God. If we take the time to breathe and say, I want to be present to the best of my ability in compassion, and I'm going to trust that divine wisdom is much greater than anything my intellect could figure out for this person. Right? It's remarkable. And then doing on a regular basis, we talk about prayer and meditation, that's always a given, but specifically doing something like loving kindness. Who are the people that know just where your buttons are installed in you? It doesn't have to be just in your family. Take them into a loving kindness meditation. You'll be surprised when the spirit is willing and you say yes, it responds profoundly. And so as we come to a close, I'm going to look at it from my book. This is a shortened version of what Matt Kahn shares in his book. It's something that you could also read on a daily basis if you're willing. If you're not, it's okay. If you want to really step into being a presence of being someone who validates the experiences of others and not judging someone for their journey and not wanting to be their rescuer, so on and so on, he says to, on a regular basis, affirm the following. So if you'd like to read it out loud, you are welcome. If you just want to listen, that is okay as well. So let us take a deep breath in and out. In and out in holy awareness as we allow each line to sink into the deepest aspect of our being. I intend to hold space through the attribute of validation for myself and others without playing the role of an avoider, a rescuer, or placater. I allow validation to be offered from a space of faithfulness and love as an offering of compassion for the resolution of all. I recognize that all the wise insights within me are the same ones growing in the hearts of every person, perhaps dawning in their awareness in different ways and at different times than they have blossomed in me. Knowing that the gift of immaculate support is how I can assist myself and those I love during moments of pain and uncertainty by releasing all judgments. I allow the validation I offer to support the oneness of all, no matter how it is received, overlooked, or denied, or whether I agree with the viewpoints of any personal sharing. And if and when this hurts my feelings, triggers memories of past trauma, makes me more distrusting of others, or causes me to shut down in rejection or lash out in resentment, I allow myself the sacred space to be with my feelings and offer the gift of validation to any aspect of invalidated aspects of myself. I honor the gift of validation as a way of reminding others of the support that's always around them, even when all hope seems lost, or they are on the brink of despair. And so it is. I'll ask Matt to put that in the chat for those who might want that at home. And when you leave, if you want it, there's one that Pam can hand you. So let us go into meditation. Peace, be still, and know that I am God. Peace, be still, and know I am. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. And in the stillness of the inner sanctuary of my heart, soul, and spirit, I call forth the knowing that I am one, that I am one with the power and presence, the creator and cause and substance of all life. God, universal spirit. And as I open to embracing the sacred humanity of myself and others, and also opening to listening from the heart of compassion as I align myself and open myself to name and claim myself as the presence of love. For God is perfect love, and I am that perfect love, willing to express compassion, validation, acceptance through my actions, through my words, through my very presence. And allow the wisdom, deep wisdom, to guide how I love, knowing that the wisdom of my spirit and soul is greater than anything my human mind can conjure. So as I surrender all judgment and open to say yes, as love, I will be love, and as wisdom, I will allow the voice of wisdom within to guide me in all that I do, and in all and each and every holy encounter. For as I heal, so do you heal. For we are one. For what is in one is in the whole. What is in the whole is in the one. And now call to mind someone who may weigh heavy in your heart and mind. And affirm these words. I see you. I behold you as the sacred one on the same journey to awakening that I am on. And as I hold compassion for you, let us arise and heal as one in the silence. Oh, let me be the presence of love, showing up as compassionate listening, validation, and acceptance for my unique journey, the journey of my loved ones, and all sacred souls of humanity. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness, rubbing your hands on the sides of your legs, bringing your hands into prayer pose, bowing to the holy within, bowing to the holy that surrounds you, in each soul and in each living, breathing life form. Namaste. And when you are ready, I invite you to open your eyes as Carol finishes us out today.
I heard so many wonderful, insightful thoughts that I can certainly use in my experience. And I think I speak for many people who are on Zoom and here today. Thank you, Reverend Angela. And our affirmation, if you want to read along with me, centered in the attribute of validation, I embody acceptance as I allow another to be heard. And now it is time for our love offering. And if you'd like to, it's on the screen here. I am divine prosperity, generously giving and receiving with heartfelt appreciation. And now we can say it together. I am divine prosperity, generously giving and receiving with heartfelt appreciation. I thought I'd add something here about the whole idea of prosperity and divine prosperity. So I did a little bit of Googling and a little bit of reading in unity circles, and I'd like to share this with you. How can we be divine prosperity now? We deliberately shift our thinking to align with the truth. We live in an abundant universe where every need is met, where our oneness is all there really is. And because of this oneness, giving and receiving are the same. What if we truly are only giving and receiving ourselves? In person, those who would be given, Pamela will be walking around with 2 baskets. One basket is for you to place your offering. The other basket is a message card for you to randomly choose, one for you to take home. If you already give electronically via our website, Unity by the Shore, or our Breeze app, you can continue to do so, regardless of what way you choose to give. Please select a message card from the basket. Zoom participants, I will select a card from our basket for you and read it aloud before the end of the service. The Zoom participants, if you have been giving electronically, you can continue to do so by going to www.unitybytheshore.org and click on the Give Now button. Or there's a Click Now button on the Zoom email announcement for this service. If you have been giving electronically, you can continue to do so. Oh, I'm repeating myself, that's already there. Lastly, those joining us virtually or in person can send a check via snail mail. Unity by the Shore, 3508 Asbury Ave, Neptune, New Jersey, 07753. Each act of generous giving is a precious gift to our community. It empowers us to offer special musical guest performers and so many other services. It is also a gift, as I said, to yourself, for as you give, so shall you receive.